Should be interesting. Stephen Moore of the Wall Street Journal is here. Back with us on the Common Sense Club, our go-to guy on all the things on the economic front. Stephen, nice to have you back. How are you?
Well, I'm pretty good, but, I'm just still dazed and confused about that proposal that Barack Obama came out with on Monday, where he wants to now raise, $1.5 trillion on businesses of taxes at a time when we got a 9% unemployment rate. I mean, maybe you can explain the rationale behind that, because it sounds like dunce economics to me.
Well, we just played the audience the Bill Clinton clip from the Clinton forum in which he says, bad time to raise taxes. I mean, even Clinton's throwing him under the bus on it.
Well, you raise taxes on businesses in this economy, and you're lighting a match in a forest fire. I mean, this is just a very dangerous economy. We're on the verge of a double-dip recession. And the idea that somehow raising taxes on businesses and workers is going – I mean, look, I don't get it. Scott, just a week ago, he said that he wanted to cut taxes on businesses and workers. And now he's saying, well, okay, we're going to cut them now, and then a year from now we're going to raise them up by $1.5 trillion. I don't think that this president knows what he's doing. I think that he is a captive of the hard left, and his whole idea and his whole goal is to redistribute income, not to create wealth and jobs.
Well, a lot of folks believe, and by the way, Clinton was confused too. I mean, he said the same thing. I mean, he said, he didn't say that in his speech to Congress. He didn't, he was going to cut taxes there, and now he's going a different track. So you're right. I mean, it's the amateur hour. They're all over the place. Don't you think, though, Stephen, this is just a political move? I mean, he's going to go out there and say he's for higher taxes to satisfy some part of his base, knowing full well has no chance of passing, and sort of throwing the long ball running against Congress here?
I think that probably is right, but I don't get the strategy. I mean, what is he going to do to appeal to the 20% hard left in this country? What about the other 80%? I mean, most Americans think, like you and I do, that it's insane to be raising taxes right now when we don't have any jobs, and insane to put taxes on the guys who are the ones who create the jobs in the first place. This idea of appealing to his hard left base, that's the opposite of what Clinton did. Clinton tried to reach out to the middle. Obama is trying to make sure that he has all the unions and all the wacko environmentalists and all the MoveOn.org people behind him. What about the other 80% of the Americans?
Are you surprised the Federal Reserve's defied the Republican leaders in Congress, saying, please, no more further federal stimulus? Been there, done that. It's not working. Don't do it. And is doubling down here?
Well, look, I think we got three problems in this economy. It's pretty simple, right? We've got way too much spending. We have way too much debt at the federal level, and the Fed is printing too much money. And all of those things, it's exactly the opposite of what Ronald Reagan did. I don't know if you saw the piece I did about a week and a half ago, but for people who didn't see it, take a look at it. It's called Reaganomics versus Obamanomics. And the most amazing thing is, Obama and Reagan both took over during economic crises. But at this stage of the economic recovery under Reagan, Scott, do you know how fast the economy was growing? Do you want to take a guess?
4 or 5%?
6.5.
Wow.
6.5. But wait a minute, I'm not done yet. You know how much it grew in the next quarter?
Tell me.
8%. 8% growth. You know what people were worried about back then? That the economy was going to overheat.
Yeah.
We were growing so fast. Here's another amazing statistic. Under Reaganomics, when we cut taxes, got spending under control, stopped the regulation, we had in 1 month, September of 1983, which, by the way, was exactly the same stage of where Obama is at in his presidency, September of 2011. In September of 1983, I'm not making this number up, Scott, the United States economy created 1 million jobs in 1 month. 1 million jobs. Do you know how many jobs, Scott, we had last month?
Zero.
Zero. I mean, so we know what works. It's to do exactly the opposite of what Obama is doing.
No, it's sad, really. It's and before it was called Reaganomics, it was called Friedmanomics. I mean, if you just to look at the 6 worst economic crises of our 20th and 21st century, and we know what works and what doesn't, and these guys keep doubling down, including the Fed.
They are, and you know what? Like you, I think Milton Friedman was, the greatest economist of the 20th century. And I used to have dinner with him once a month up in San Francisco up until the time he died. And I'll never forget one of our last dinners. I asked Milton Friedman, and boy, do we need him back now. I said, Milton, what is the most important thing we can do to grow the economy faster? And you know what he said? Cut government spending as much as possible. And Obama's doing just the opposite.
No, it's amazing. Are we going to see another?
Because what Milton Friedman taught us his most important economic insight. Remember this one, Scott? There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Right? If the government spends $1, somebody has to pay the $1, and that's what nobody in Washington understands.
He forgot about Solandra, though. There's free lunch if you're Solandra and you make solar panels. But by the way, if you're an oil company that actually creates jobs, you get to go to criminal court. As 7 oil companies are in court today, and I know you're working on this story. I can't wait to see more about that in the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, you know what? I want to thank you so much for turning me on to that story. It's that story about the migratory birds, which I guess that first hearing is today, isn't it?
It is. They're in criminal court today. Absolutely. We're up against the clock. We'll have you back, Stephen. Thanks a ton. Stephen Moore, Wall Street Journal, our guest on the Common Sense Club.